This is the Padua Podcast Network. One of the things that they said, and this was just a caption to a picture that I picked up, is that a multivitamin won't hurt you, but probably won't help much either. I don't know if that's the case. Running a Fever, episode 189, best supplements for over 50 weight training. Welcome to Running a Fever. My name is Michael Davis. Can you build muscle if you're over 50? Well, I'm a living example of that. I gained almost 20 pounds of muscle, actually 19 pounds in 1 year, starting when I was 52. And, it's definitely over 20 pounds because I started a little bit earlier than that, but I really started getting hardcore about August of last year. And then now it's September of the following year, and 20 pounds of muscle, so it can happen. And I'm going to talk a little bit about supplements today. I think there's a lot of interest in this because, well, it's, for one thing, there's big marketing, and I had a whole episode on supplements. But this episode, I'm particularly going to talk about those for older folks and the different needs that we have as we get older. So with regard to general health, there are some recommendations specifically for people over 50, and I wanted to go into these to help with anyone out there. If you're not weight training, you still can be helped by supplements. Now, one of the things that they said, and this was just a caption to a picture that I picked up, is that a multivitamin won't hurt you, but probably won't help much either. I don't know if that's the case. I found myself, and I explained this, when I started taking a multivitamin after not taking one for a while, I felt the difference. I felt the physical difference. So I know that especially if you're deficient, and most of us probably are, because it's just so hard to get all your nutrients from food, then probably that will make a difference. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have a lot of scientific evidence behind that, and I may want to look into it further at some point. But that was a caption on the AARP website where I got most of my information about general health here. The first thing on the list is vitamin D and calcium. So what happens as we get older is we're at a greater risk for bone loss. Now, you may not know this is for both men and women, but in women especially, because estrogen helps maintain your bone mass. So, after menopause, when that estrogen level starts decreasing, then you're especially at risk for bone loss. So you definitely need to be very careful about getting enough vitamin D and calcium, because they're important for maintaining good bones. And of course, you know this from all the dairy marketing, that if you're my age and, this sort of over 50 stuff interests you, you have been subjected to over the years, especially, I don't watch much TV these days, but, back in the days when there were, 3 networks, you had a lot of advertisements for milk, basically explaining how it could help you with your bones. So personally, I don't drink milk anymore just because of the lactic acid content and the fat, of course. But vitamin D and calcium are readily available in the grocery store, so you don't really need to get them from dairy. But I do have other kinds of dairy too. I have yogurt, and of course my big weakness is cheese. So you can get vitamin D and calcium, but the recommended daily dosages are 600 international units IU of vitamin D, and 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of calcium, or 1,200 every day, or 1,200 of calcium for women. And then they say preferably divide this into 2 doses per day. Second on the list is omega-3 fatty acids. These are the good fats. They reduce inflammation. They reduce plaque buildup in arteries. Can you imagine a fat that reduces your arterial clogging? That's a thing, all right? You got to have fat. It's a necessary ingredient, and these are the kind of fats that you want. Omega-3 also, the omega-3 fatty acids also help you control blood sugar levels. Taking 1,000 milligrams a day can reduce the risk of heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. I personally take this in the form of fish oil. My olive oil has omega-3 fatty acids. I get this in my use of Smart Balance, which is my butter substitute. Okay, and fish oil, one of the things, 1,000 milligrams a day, a lot of times you'll find these oil pills, it's kind of hard to find something that's less than a 1 pill, 1,000 milligrams, because everybody knows that's the daily recommended dose, right? That's too big of a pill for me. I don't like those huge fish oil pills. Sometimes I have trouble swallowing, as I've talked about before, because of a disorder I have called DISH that I'm working on. But if you have trouble swallowing and you don't want to take one of these huge pills, there are smaller ones available. They're kind of hard to find, though. And I will have a link to that on the resources page, my fish oil supplement that I use, that you can click on, and without costing any more money, you help the show every time you click on something on the resources page. So I really appreciate it when you do that. That is giving me a little bit of income every single month. So I appreciate that. Always helps. Making a podcast costs money. Just letting you know. The next thing on the list is probiotics. Probiotics, unlike antibiotics, which kill bacteria, probiotics introduce healthy bacteria, and that can improve your gut health in people over 50 who can be more vulnerable to unhealthy bacteria. A healthy gut makes sure that you can absorb the nutrients you need, and the recommended amount is 1 to 10 billion CFUs several times per week. I do not currently take a probiotic on a regular basis. I have taken them in the past. This was when I had cellulitis, which is a serious illness that you can die from. It's a bacterial infection of your capillaries. So it's very hard to treat with any kind of medication, but oral especially. I wound up in the hospital for a few days taking intravenous antibiotics. So probiotics is one of the things that was prescribed as an initial non-invasive sort of measure to help with that. So gut health, there are whole books written on gut health, and I'm sure I will have episodes in the future on that. There you go. When you get older, you need more help with that. So think about a probiotic supplement. All right. So that's for everybody over 50. When it comes to muscle, those of us who are building muscle and trying definitely to do that, I really think that's important. Obviously, you don't need to go overboard, and maybe I do too much muscle building. But if you've ever seen people that struggle when they get older, that fall more often, that's because they don't have the same strength. There is a condition that starts with an S that I don't have handy. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It's a condition specifically has to do with muscle loss as we get older. Maintaining that strength is important. And so even at the age of 53, I'm basically investing in my future. It's kind of like a retirement plan for my body. I think it's very important. But anyway, if you're building muscle right now, much of the advice that applies to younger folks applies to people over 50. The problem is that our body's ability to repair itself declines as we age. And it doesn't mean it goes away. It just means the same amount of repair can take twice as long. Makes it especially important if you're using supplements to take them on a daily basis, even on your rest days, if you're over 50. And I haven't been doing this, and so this is something that I need to start. But, I continually talk about it, but this is even more reason that I need to do it. The time when your body rebuilds, and this is how you build muscle, by tearing it down in these sort of micro tears in the muscle, get repaired, and when they get repaired, they're built up stronger. And this is true of a lot of bodily processes, including fractures in your bones. After a fracture, those bones get stronger. And these micro tears in your muscular structure, as you repair them, that's when you get more muscle, because it builds up stronger than it was before. And this happens while you're not, obviously, I'm working out for 45 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That's a short period of time. That's not when the muscle's rebuilding. It's rebuilding in between time, and it's rebuilding that whole week. Because you exercise one muscle group generally per week. So that whole week in between is when that repair is taking place. So that's why you need to continually take care of this stuff while you're doing repair. And that is the problem with getting older, is it just takes longer. So you can still do it, but it takes longer. Obviously, I built 20 20 pounds of muscle in a year. It is definitely possible. One thing that becomes more important isn't a dietary supplement at all. It's sleep. I had a whole episode on sleep, so you should know about this. But when you're sleeping is when HGH is released. That's human growth hormone. This actually kicks off a trigger in my mind of the illegal use as a supplement in sports, taking additional HGH. Well, we don't do that, but it naturally grows in your body. It's a natural hormone in your body. What happens is when you're sleeping is when the highest levels of HGH are. So that's what you need to grow your muscle. So you need to definitely not skimp on your sleep. And their other hormones are also being produced, testosterone and melatonin. Those are released during sleep. And these are hormones that are important in the process of repairing and building stronger. That's the whole reason that weight training works, as I just explained. If you don't get enough sleep, you'll be deficient in these hormones and you'll need even more time to repair the damage done during training. So 7 to 9 hours is recommended. I have personally determined that 8.5 hours is the amount for me. For you, it might be different. I've got links to my main sources, as always, in the show notes. Also, always visit the resources page for links to products mentioned here. And if you got the fever, keep it. If you don't have it, catch it. And I'll talk to you next time on Running a Fever.